Greetings, one and all. Welcome to the Retired Techie YouTube channel. Trying to mix things up a little bit here, still on the road, so trying a few techniques, see how they work out. Today's subject is going to be creating a theme for the SLiM Display Manager. I always wondered why it was called a Display Manager. Well, technically I know why it's called a Display Manager, but I think Login Manager would be a better term. Today we're going to talk about creating the SLiM theme from scratch or modifying an existing theme. We're going to learn something about how SLiM fits into the Linux file system. We're going to be doing this on Arch Linux, so if you have a different distro, there may be some variations in what we're doing here. We're also going to talk at the end of the video about setting a theme to the active theme. If that's your chief reason for coming here is simply changing a theme on SLiM, then you probably want to jump to the end of the video or try some of the other tutorials that just talk about that. What we're going to be doing is we're going to do a little graphics. Well, first we're going to do a introduction to SLiM and a walkthrough of the various parameters we're going to be using. Then we're going to do some graphics, a panel and a background image. Then we're going to build/modify the slim.theme file, which controls your theme. And then we're going to modify the slim.config file that controls which theme is active. We've got a lot to go into today, so this is going to be a little longer than normal probably. So I hope you stay with me to the end. Let's start by taking a overview look at the SLiM Desktop Manager for those who might not be familiar with it, although if you're not, I'm not sure why you're here. So SLiM was originally released in 2004. It's a lightweight desktop manager, DM for desktop manager. It's an acronym for Simple Login Manager. It's a display manager because it manages the display servers, Xorg in our case here. Last update to SLiM was in version 1.3.6 in 2013. Since then, it's been considered abandoned or dead. Arch Linux is using SLiM Fork, which is a fork of the original version of SLiM. It's currently being maintained by Robert Pierce using the original version sequence. So SLiM Fork, as of 2023, this year, was at version 1.4.0. There's another part to SLiM called SLiM Lock, which deals with PAM, screen locking, login. We're not really going to be messing with that. It has its own configuration file. That's something I'll discuss in a later post. Right now it's out of scope for just configuring SLiM. Let's take a moment to look at the file structure of the SLiM Display Manager so we know where the various files we need to work with are located. The drawing to the left shows a basic breakout of where the main files we'll be working with are located. The slim.config is in the etc directory, and the SLiM theme folder is in user share SLiM themes. SLiM configuration file at etc/slim.config sets some basic configuration parameters for SLiM. This includes the current theme variable. There are some commonalities between slim.theme and slim.config, which we'll look at. An example would be the welcome message is in both files. However, the slim.theme file will take precedence. As I said, themes are stored in user share SLiM themes, and a theme consists of the folder containing the three main SLiM theme files, which we'll cover shortly. The theme folder. As per the image to the right, we can see the basic layout of a theme folder. SLiM themes are folders with the theme name. If it's Nike, the folder would be called Nike. If it's default, the folder would be called default. Themes consist of three mandatory files. SLiM.theme is the theme configuration file. Background is a theme wallpaper. And panel is your basic login widget. Various authors may include additional files like copyright, version, changelog, or other items like a preview, but this will depend on the author. Background and panel are graphic files. They can be either PNG or JPEG. JPEG has a size advantage. However, the PNG supports transparency, and this sort of determines how they're normally used, although either file can be either ending. Background file is usually a JPEG because it's a bigger file, and the panel is usually a PNG because of the support for transparency. Do not take liberties with the name conventions, or SLiM will not be able to find the files. As they're listed here, this is how they should be named, so don't change that. Common elements among the various parameters and options in a SLiM theme. So there are several common elements used in formatting a SLiM theme for various properties, various variables that we're going to talk about here that are applicable throughout the theme. These are mainly found in the SLiM.theme file. First, color is expressed as a 6-digit hex number. This is your standard HTML RGB color. For examples, # and 6 zeros is black, while # and 6 Fs is white. Position can be two types, either absolute in pixels or percentage from the upper left corner of the display or panel, depending on what the theme element is you're dealing with. For the majority of them, it'll be from the upper left of the panel, but it is also, like I say, expressible in pixels or percentage. Percentage works better if you think you're going to have varying sizes for people using your theme for centering. Offsets, these are used with drop shadows, and they are from the specific element. Positive values are down and right, negative values are up and left. And fonts are XFT type, like TrueType fonts. They're XFT style. Initial setup for creating a SLiM theme. We start by creating a SLiM folder in your home directory someplace. You can work on it without permissions for sudo, su, or root. You can test it from your home folder. You can do a lot of work on it before you actually apply it to your installation to get it pretty close to the way you want. At some point, though, you will have to install it to finish up configuration. Consider your theme display look before creating any files. What is your display size and aspect ratio? This will have an effect on your background image. How do you want the background displayed? There are several different types we'll cover, like stretch or centered or tiled. Where should various message boxes go? They all have to go within the panel, so you need to design your panel to include those message boxes. And you need to do some rough calculations of the positions for the various elements in your theme, where they're going to go. I suggest using pencil and paper and drawing it out first to see what it's going to look like before actually starting to develop the theme on computer. The theme background for SLiM. So the background is defined in the theme's name, SLiM.theme file. It has two settings, background style and background color in your SLiM.theme file. There are 4 basic background styles to choose from: color, center, stretch, and tile. Background color is visible when using either the background styles of color or center. Well, depends on the size of your image when you're using center. Color is a 6-digit hexadecimal number. The background style settings work as follows. The color setting displays only the background color. The center setting centers the background image without adjusting its size. If it's smaller than the screen, then you will see color behind it. The stretch setting scales the background image filling the screen, and the tile setting does just that. It tiles, or it displays multiple copies of a background image in a tile pattern. The background image itself is located in the themes folder. It must be named either background.jpg or background.png to be recognized by SLiM. I repeat, the image itself is a file called background in the SLiM theme folder. The SLiM theme panel. The panel contains various messages, artwork, and user login information. So I sometimes call it the login widget. Size and artwork are defined by the theme name panel.png or panel.jpg. The panel can be a PNG or JPEG. However, JPEG does not support transparency, and a lot of panels use transparency for some interesting effects. The panel must be named either panel.png or panel.jpg in the theme folder, or it won't be recognized. Positions are set by variables in the slim.theme file, input panel X or input panel Y. Position is an offset from the upper left corner of the display. It can be in pixels or it can be in percentage. Multiple items must be displayed within the panel area. System messages, session messages, input area for name and password, user name and password messages, and welcome message. All must be displayed within the panel. Some statistical analysis for our setup of the theme and our display of the theme. Not a lot of math, so it shouldn't be too hard. So I looked it up online, and worldwide, as of 2023, 48% of displays have an aspect ratio of 16:9 and are at the following resolutions: 1920 by 1080, 1366 by 768, and 1536 by 864. Actually, the ratio of 16 to 9 is a lot higher because several of the other common resolutions were also 16 by 9. But these are the screen sizes we're looking at. To future-proof somewhat, we set our background image to 2560 by 1440, and we use stretch to get it to fill the screen properly. There are larger display sizes. I'm not using them. Some people do, though. So, like I say, future-proof. For the visible panel on most common displays, 2:1 aspect ratio at 800 by 400 should be fairly safe. You can also use the percentages to keep it centered on the display, especially if you're going to publish and people are using different size displays. Percentage is the way to keep it centered. For the non-visible parts of the panel where we will display the various messages, estimate about 200 pixels above and 100 pixels below, and I'll throw an extra 20 pixels in on each size. This is for the panel I'm designing. Yours will have different specs, but like I say, you need to think about it before you start drawing stuff and decide what you want to do. All right, time to get down to actual theme elements. We're going to start with the messages. There's a little confusion on this one because some of the stuff that showed up in the recent change notes, but SLiM can display some system messages. The message position is relative to the upper left corner of the panel, or at least it was. I seem to recall something in the change notes about that, but I'll have to look that up and see whether it's the panel now or if it's the screen or display. But the variables used for the messages, system messages, the most common example given is shutting down would be MSGX and MSGY for the position. The font would be MSG font. Again, it's a XTF font. MSG color, again, a 6-digit hex number. And for the drop shadows, MSG shadow X offset, MSG shadow Y offset, and MSG shadow color. And you're going to see these repeated over and over again for a variety of items. Next up, the sessions variable. Sessions is used when you're using multiple desktops and Windows managers to switch between them before you log in. So it needs to be set up properly to work. In other words, you have to have multiple window managers and desktops, and you need to set it up in the config file. Allow SLiM to display one or multiple window managers. So session variables are relative to the panel, session X, session Y for position, again, percent or absolute pixel. Font and color, session font, session color, and drop shadows are the same as before, except it's session shadow X offset, session shadow Y offset, and session shadow color. Like I said, you're going to see a lot of these over and over again. Just the first part of the variable will change for what it's being applied to. Now for the input widget. The input widget or input box or whatever you want to call it, it's where you type your text in. There's two types. There's a double entry and there's a single entry. So your input variables are input name X, input name Y, input pass X, input pass Y. Setting the password variables to -1 will put you in the single input box mode as opposed to the dual, and you'll type your username and password in the same box. Otherwise, you need to give them all values, and we have the same input font, input color, and then the input shadow with the offsets and the color as our previous elements had. Input messages. These are the things that tell you stuff like enter username and enter password. Yes, username and password are what input messages are for. And these are the messages you type yourself, whatever you want them to be in the slim.theme file. You can use -1 on the values to disable the placement of either or both if they're already taken care of in your panel. In case a single box that is -1 in the previous input widget, then the password values are ignored and it will show up where the username shows up. So positions are username X, username Y, and password X and password Y. Again, percentage or pixels, and this is relative to the panel. So we have username font and username color. This applies both to username and password input messages. There is no password font or password color. Username underscore message and password underscore message, which can be left blank or they can be disabled, but these are the messages that will be displayed in the position that you've selected. Username comes first, then password after they've entered their username. But the messages can be anything you want them to be. And of course, we have the shadow for username, shadow X offset, Y offset, and color. And again, this applies to both username and password. All right, other messages. We have the welcome message, which will display on the login screen. It can appear in both slim.config and slim.theme. The SLiM.theme file has priority positions relative to the panel, welcome X, welcome Y, and then we have the same fonts and shadow values associated with this message. There are shutdown and reboot messages also. Shutdown message and reboot message, they can appear in both the slim.config and the slim.theme file. Again, the theme file has priority. The shutdown slash message and reboot underscore message uses message MSG settings for position, font, and color, as well as shadow. All right, the slim.config file. What we want to do with this file is, as far as changing themes, is pretty straightforward. We want to look through the file and find the current underscore theme variable and change it to the name of whatever theme we want to use. It's stored in the etc directory. You will need root /sudo /su permission to edit this file. And as I said, you want to modify the current underscore theme variable to point to whatever theme you want it to point to. You can also look through the file and find the welcome message, shutdown message, and reboot message that we just talked about, and you can change them here, or you can place them in your theme file and change them there. I think it makes more sense to have them in the theme file, but there's doesn't hurt anything leaving them where they are. Now it's time to talk about testing our theme. We've talked about putting it together, all the different variables you can use. We'll go through a better example later, or an actual example later, but let's talk about testing first. As I said, you can test the theme in any directory. We're going to use the SLiM command with the TAC-P and the TAC-W options. For example, on my current system, SLiM TAC-P /home/RT/Nike. Then we have TAC-W, and we give our screen resolution 1920 by 1080. When you do this, you want to take some notes about things that need to be moved or changed, and then you can close the window. It elects it back, and then you can make your modifications to your theme file, and you can repeat this over and over until you're satisfied with how it looks. Some things to consider if you plan to publish. Others might have different screen resolutions. I already talked about using percent instead of pixels, and different aspect ratios. You can actually play around with this using the W command to see what it looked like on some different screens, so you can get the best result on whatever you're looking for. Once you finish testing locally, it'll be time to actually publish the theme or install it on your computer, because as good as testing locally is, it's not going to be quite the same as actually running it on your system. So that'll be the next step. Okay, it's time to deploy. We've done all the local testing we can, and now we want to deploy and see what it looks like. So as I said, once you're satisfied, you can go into deploy mode. If you want to add any additional optional files like copyright notice or change log or even a preview to your theme folder, now's the time while you still don't need root permissions. So you are going to need root permission for the next steps, sudo, su, or login as root. You need to copy your theme folder to the user share SLiM themes directory, and you need to modify the current theme variable in the etc slim.config file. And then restart your system, well, or at least restart your X server, and then take a look at your theme. I've been assuming that SLiM is running in the background already. If not, try the following command: sudo systemctl enable slim.services and restart again. This should get it running if it isn't when you restart. You can also run the system control start slim.service. Okay, let's work on the artwork a little here. I'm going to rush through this as that's not the point of the video. I'm using GIMP for the background. And for the panel, I'm going to switch it up and use Inkscape because this will be a little easier to do in Inkscape than it would be to do in GIMP. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and move over to our virtual machine. You can see this is the default theme for a SLiM fork. You should recognize this arch installation. It's the one I did in the last video. So you can see we have our Nike folder here with our background panel and slim.theme file. We're going to edit the slim.theme file here a little bit, and we're going to test it before actually installing it to our system. So the command for testing is slim-p path to our theme folder, including the theme folder name and -w in our screen resolution. And we can look at it and see it works, but there's a lot of elements that are out of place here. Of course there are. We need to demonstrate a little editing. So we'll come over, and first thing we'll do is adjust our panel placement. You can see it moved, and you can see all the text moved with it. It's a little low for what I want. And that looks about right for what I'm looking for. Next, let's adjust our input box, which was way high and off to the left. Since we're using the single line model, we can basically comment, or I should say use -1 on the pass X and pass Y values. Should also note that the username now is not superimposed over password, and we're much closer to where we want the entry box to be. Closer yet. That pretty much lines up the input box. I'm going to increase the font size a little and adjust the color. Here, that's a little better. We could technically do away with password Y and password X for the message one. But if you want to maintain a little compatibility, if someone else tries to use your theme and modify it, so I leave them both in there. Just make them the same. There, that's about right. Okay, I've done some more adjustment to the theme. I've got it pretty much where I want. I do need to change the fonts since it's defaulting to the Sans font as Verdana is specified. I'm going to change that to Deja Vu Sans. Okay, that's pretty close to what we're looking for. I think it's time to go ahead and deploy this theme. So let's do a little trick here because we need root permissions to deploy it. So we're going to launch our file browser as root by using sudo. And we do it from the command line. You notice a little triangle in the upper left corner that's telling us we're super user with the browser. So we're going to copy our theme. Then we're going to go to the SLiM theme folder and SLiM share SLiM themes, and then we're going to paste it in. And there it is. Next thing we need to do is go to the etc directory and find the slim.config file. And we want to find the current theme variable and change it to Nike. Save that. Now we just need to log out and see what happens. And there we are. Our theme's been applied. If we wanted to, we could do some final adjustments, but I think we're at the end of the very long road here. All right, that looks like it. We've met the goal of this video. We've created a SLiM theme and we've installed it and it works. And you should realize now it's not that hard to do. Of course, I'm not the greatest artist in the world, so I'm sure people with more artistic ability than me could do a much better job. But again, my point was just this is how you do it. So I hope now more people realize that the SLiM is a great display manager and make more use of it. It's a good alternative to the existing ones. It's very light, very fast, and it's not that hard to theme. In fact, in some ways, it's easier to theme than some of the other display managers I've tried and worked with. But for now, we're done, and in a couple of days, I'm hitting the road again. So next time, I'm thinking I'll be in Northern Virginia when I get around to posting some stuff. So see y'all then.